drink and draw episode, just joshing. I always forget what episode I'm at. I think it's 533. I think it's been a long journey, a lot of fun to actually get to this point. My guess is somebody I've enjoyed meeting in the last. I met, and I guess met is such a vague term these days, but when I discovered, thanks to JD Estrada that opened me up to the world like Mog. And when I met Mog, I met you, I met An, I met so many others. And it's been nice to get to know you guys. You guys are all rock in your own ways. And it's just like, wow, this is a cool group of people. So thank you. Nice to meet you talk to you here on this podcast in person.
I have to say, I met pretty much everybody at the same time because I kind of joined like a comic related group only because somebody at my comics store suggested it. They were saying like, oh, I like to draw and do stuff like that. Why don't you join the local comic jam, which is like a Facebook book group, and people are kind of meeting in person to draw together. And I just kind of joined that group because virtually had nothing else better to do last year. So we just kind of hung out there, and that's how I actually got to know Mog. I never met her personally either. So it's kind of like an odd year. Like all these people that know kinda, but you never met.
Well, yeah, it's so this. I feel like our technology is both the best thing and the worst thing about this time, right? Because see, I would love the opportunity to go to Hawaii right now, meet you in person.
Who
Right.
wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Well, yes. Okay. Besides the fact that it's Hawaii, we'll pretend just for a minute that I don't have an ulterior motive for going out there. But we'll just pretend that entirely for just a second. Just the fact is, I've met so many of you that from out there. It would just be cool to meet you guys in that world, in that place now. It might be something I do. Like I'm going to be, by the end of this year, I think, traveling again, regardless of where we're at in the world. I just feel like good, bad, or indifferent, crazy, or whatever. Life's short, and we can't sit still forever. And what I've always dreamed of doing is with the show is I'm going to go across the country. I'm going to go and see and meet everybody and just see because there's just a lot of amazing people that do wonderful things all the time, you included. So I'd be like, now yes, it's Hawaii. Of course I'm going to be doing this for ulterior reasons as well. But it'd be like, hey, you want to go to like a local coffee shop or bar or somewhere on the beach and just meet and talk and just like doodle in person? Because I really can't think like that. Like the closest I've ever gotten to that was San Diego. I went to San Diego for the Comic-Con 1 year. And there was a bed and breakfast. Right beside the bed and breakfast was a comic shop. And it was literally like a block from the beach. It was a really
everything.
Yeah.
Right there, right? Perfect.
It was closest to the paradise I had. And what really kicked me is I couldn't figure out a way to get back into San Diego the third day. Because if I had, oh man, that would have been, that's what I would have done on the third day. I would have, because they offered to keep me there for an extra day. I had to go back. It was just like, I kicked myself so hard because I was like, that was beautiful. And I imagine Hawaii's the same way. I imagine Hawaii's very much like, it's just a beautiful place with a lot of things to see and do. And like, in one hand, it's got to be kind of torture. You got all this beauty around you. You can't go outside right now. But on the other hand, I mean, you wake up and you have, I mean, it's scary. I mean, I guess with the typhoons and tsunamis, I mean, you can surf, you can go to the beach, you can relax, you can.
Hawaii is kind of like a double-edged sword because for one thing, it's really, really pretty, right? But it's also very expensive. So
yes.
a lot of people who are trying to move here have a very tough time making it. So a lot of people are moving here and then they maybe last a couple of months or whatever, and then they move away. Because you have to make personal connections really, really soon in order to get a place to stay that's not too much. You have to find a job or two, possibly, because a lot of people who live here actually have a side hustle going on to actually make it. It's really hard to actually pay your bills.
Well, no, that. Of course, that's because it's one of the prettiest places in the world, and everybody comes through. So there's like a tourist. There's a tourist effect there. So that's part of what you're getting. It's like you're paying for the beauty. The flip side is,
You
I
don't
mean,
have to deal with the frost for one thing. Like when everybody
yeah,
else was complaining
it's like,
about the winter time, we're just kind of like, what are you bitching about?
yeah, it's like winter. What the hell is that? I'm like, oh, it's like that's kind of like winter. What's winter? It's like, oh man, like.
Right around that time, you get to everybody hating you with a real passion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like darn. It's Celsius here, so you're like at 27 degrees Celsius, while it's like minus like 10 here. We're like, I think no, but that's the I mean, that's good and bad. Like everywhere has good and bad. Like California's expensive too, right? It's ridiculously expensive. It's a lot of the same thing because you're just like, well, it's not you today. In today's world, this is just what I've seen, even where I'm at right now. This is my hustle, quote unquote, and I'm trying to turn my side hustle into my main hustle. But I'm already thinking of other things I want to do with it, right? Because I think the way the world has become, it doesn't matter where you are anymore. You have to hustle. Right, and you have to go for whatever it is you're going for. Like I spent a year as a freelancer, and I've enjoyed it. I've learned so much. My anniversary of it is literally this Sunday. Like that's my anniversary. That's my 1 year anniversary, and I'm writing about it actually up on my blog. What I've learned. I just had another article come out from Writers Weekly today, which was really, really cool. So, I mean, I've definitely made some inroads. I still need to go get myself a day job again. But now I'm caught in this cycle. I don't want a continental shift, a swing shift. I don't want any of that anymore. I want something that's steady. I don't even need something that pays well. I just need something that's steady, so I can keep doing it. Yeah, right. But that's hard, right? Because now it's like because I had 10 pages to come. It's like, well, we'd love it if you did this shift. It's like, but if I do this shift, I can't do this. If I'm not doing this, why bother? I'm not. All right, and that's you got to make those decisions for your life. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned in the last year. It's about what you want.
It's always hard though, because the longer you go in life, the more like responsibility I kind of accumulate, right? So it's not just about what you want, but also about all the other kind of side things that you accumulate. Like you have to make sure that you have everything set up for your family, and if you have kids, then you have to consider that too. I mean, we don't have any kids, so that's one.
I don't have like if I had a family, I think here's the thing too, right? If I had a family, I'd be going slower. I wouldn't be going faster. I'd be going slower, because that would mean that but I would still be moving in that direction. Because the last thing I think I'd want, and I think it's a very tricky line. You got to make sure your kids are taken care of. But at the same token, you don't want your kids to think that they're stuck being in this position. And right, it's such a weird like give and take, because you got to, I mean, how can you tell your kids that anything is possible if you're holding yourself back? At the same token, you got to make sure they have food on the table. It is such a tricky, tricky balance, right?
You can't be like, oh, mommy has got to fulfill her dreams. We're going to eat peanut butter and jelly for
yeah, exactly.
next week. Sorry. Oops.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but at the same time, you're like, but you're at the same point. Like, even if you have kids, like I don't want to do swing shifts all the time. I want to make sure my kids are there and things are steady and things are where they're at, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
But you got. I think no matter what, no matter where you are in your life, you have to make clear decisions of what you are willing to live with and what you're not willing to live with. And as you're saying, it's not always about you. You're right, but at the same token, even factoring that all in, then same thing. What's best for them first, then what's best for you, and figuring out how to do it in a way where you don't compromise the things you really, really love to do. Because even though, again, kids come first, you need to do the things you love too. Or what's the point, right?
You can tell I've already started drawing a little bit.
Yeah, I see that.
I
see that. I see that. You want to show the audience? Is there a way for you to show the audience what you're doing?
Well, I'm starting. Oops, this right here.
So I love that look.
I'm starting that already. It's a little bit on the. Let's see if we can get that. It's probably hard
people
to
saw
see.
that's an amazing Daffy. That's an incredible Daffy Duck.
So starting with that. And of course, that's Duck Doctors, right? So we're starting with that. And there's going to be a mashup with a whole bunch of other characters. So I have, let's see, Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide from the Galaxy. I've got Elmer Fudd as Q. I've got Porky the Pig with a Ferengi face. I've got all kinds of other people in there. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them right now, but I've got them all penciled out. It's going to get there eventually, I suppose.
Well, see, I got my lucky book here. See, this is my lucky book.
Oh, the red book.
Yeah.
Here we go.
My approach has been just to have fun with everything I'm doing. So I'm going to start with drawing Duck Dodgers for the first time ever tonight because it's Duck Dodgers.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, seriously, Daffy Duck is like one of the most iconic characters in all of cartoondom.
That's
right?
True. And actually, I've never drawn it before, so that was kind of like a fun little thing. Like, yeah, it's I remember I started drawing like imitating other cartoon characters beforehand. Like one of the first ones that I tried to do was Garfield. That was one of the first ones that I actually nailed. Like just okay, you have to do the fur a little bit on the side. You have to do some other stuff on the side. So Garfield is actually a very easy one to start with because you're starting with the eyes and a little bit of some of the folds in the fur and everything. So, and it's very simple, very much with just circles and basic forms. So that helps a lot if you can start something that doesn't have very complicated things going on, like hands all of a sudden, like, oh my God, fingers. When you start out to draw, then fingers and hands are just awful to do. And they're so discouraging because if everybody can tell that it's not looking right? Everybody, if you're drawing a cup or whatever, that's perfectly fine if you're taking artistic license. But if you're drawing a face, anybody who's anybody can immediately tell you, it's a funny looking face right there. Those fingers aren't right. Those fingers aren't right. Yes, I know. Thank you very much for reminding me. Right?
Thanks for reminding me what I already know. Well, I think the big thing about Daffy, the big thing about a lot of these classic characters, they're so iconic, right? So people have a sense of what they already kind of look like just being there. Daffy's beak and his ability to.
He's got a sarcastic air about it, right? I mean, he always has that little bit of a smart ass about him. So.
Well, I think the thing I love about Daffy is there's in some ways he's a little bit more human than Bugs is. Right? Bugs.
Oh, Bugs always wins, right? So that there's kind of a little bit of a drawback right there. Daffy is a little bit more sympathetic because sometimes he really falls on his ass, right? So there's a little bit of a more human character about him. He doesn't always win.
It's not that he doesn't always win. He's also more obviously flawed, right? That's the thing. Like Daffy is very honest about who he is and isn't. I think more so than Bugs is in some ways. Bugs is like there's this one. I love the one where they do the Cave of Wonders and Alibaba and Bugs pretends to be a genie to save Daffy. It's like he even goes to Daffy. What's with you anyway? He goes, I can't help it. I'm a greedy slob. It's my hobby. Save me. Got this big, giant, angry guard. Hassan, shop, right? And I grew up with the Bugs Bunny cartoons. That's why I think I am literally who I am. I'm not. They made me who I am today, for better or for worse. You know. But but Daffy was very much. He's also kind of like he has the ability to be very, very, very silly, but he's also very, very, very. He can be incredibly sympathetic, but he also can be like he's also a character you kind of don't mind when he gets his butt kicked. And these Duck Dodgers, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it when Marvin the Martian was kicking his butt. It was fun. It just by its very nature, it was a lot of fun to watch Marvin own him, right? Because Marvin was just minding his he was declaring planet X in the name of Mars, and it was a lovely sentiment, right? And Daffy was right about one thing: two of us can't claim it, but I also just love that the Acme Corporation, even in the 24th and a half century, still doesn't make anything right, and Daffy paid for that a lot.
All right, so here we have Daffy in all of his glory.
Yes.
There's his pose.
Daffy is in all his glory there. You can totally see that. It's actually amazing to watch that. Okay. I'm going to show you mine in just a second here. We're not quite there yet. I'm drawing the base outline of Duck Dodgers here. Found a picture of him, and I'm...
Well, I'm kind of having a head start because I already started with a sketch already, so I'm just basically filling in the blanks, right? So I've got a head start on you. So there you go.
So it's okay.
I'm refilling my Ouija bucket of tea.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Whereas me, I'm just trying to be. So my favorite Daffy episode of all time, though, is when Bugs drew him. Not gonna lie, that one made me. That one was hilarious because you just slowly watch Daffy Duck lose his shit. It just was what it was trying to help. He tried to help the guy, he pleaded with the guy. Finally, just got really angry with the animator who went out of his way just to completely screw with him. Right? It was just like I looked at that and I just said to myself, okay, somebody there had a sense of humor, like really, really good sense of humor about the whole concept there. Daffy was trying to do everything he could. It's like, listen, Mac, please, who are you? Why are you doing this to me? We're just trying to do something here, and you're not letting me do this. Why aren't you letting me do this? It's like,
just the other day we sometimes alternate with different streaming services just to vary a little bit all the different stuff that we're watching. So we had HBO for a little while, and they've got all the Looney Tunes cartoons. So we started with the very early seasons, and actually Daffy Duck is very different in those. He's a little bit more happy-go-lucky, right? And he only starts to get a little bit more on the sour edge the later seasons a little bit, it seems to me. Maybe they realized he was a little bit too close to Bugs Bunny in the early ones, so they just figured, we need to have some alternate characters on this side. It's a little bit boring if everybody is kind of the same. So that is kind of interesting.
Quite get it right, but I came pretty close. Show you kind of where I'm at on this.
Oh.
This is my first attempt at Daffy Duck. He's a little harder than he looks. But I'll show you mine here real quick here as I'm starting to ink my first one here.
All right. Oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, for a first time, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
The beak, I didn't quite get right. I didn't quite do it.
It got a little bit longer, so it has a...
Yeah, no, it just wasn't Why? Right, but it's it's a Duck Dodgers kind of motif, and I'm gonna finish like the little bit of inking I'm gonna do with this, and I'm gonna try it again because it's Daffy Duck, right? And but I mean, we all got to take a shot at what some of these legendary characters at some point, and Daffy is definitely legendary. But yeah, no, like early Daffy Duck's wacky, like very very wacky,
Very loud, off the wall, bouncy kind of thing.
Yep.
Like it's very very much out there. So he got a little bit more of a sarcastic edge as he got older. It's just kind of like maybe he got bitter or something. I don't know.
Well, they made him a little less just one dimensional. Is actually what they did. They made him a little bit more 3-dimensional. He had that wacky woohoo 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 all the way through in his start. Like you can start that because he was causing chaos and mayhem to his baddies as well. And as they got a little more sophisticated with him, they made him a little greedier, made him a little bit more, a little more flawed in some ways, But
a lot of characters that really only turn out great if you put in a little bit flaws, a little bit vulnerability. If everything is all hunky dory and everybody's perfect, then it kind of gets boring. You don't really are. You're not really drawn to any characters that are perfect as it is. At least I'm not. It's just if everybody's a Prince Charming, then why bother? Why look in the story to begin with? It's just kind of like.
Well, yeah. I think what they want to do is see Bugs Bunny is a trickster. Is what he is. He's an actual trickster. So anyway, I'm gonna show. That was my first take, ladies and gentlemen, on Daffy Duck. It's not perfect, but for a good start, I think for a first time, that's not too bad.
Actually, the ray gun turned out pretty good too. I'm just looking at
that.
Yeah. I added Marvin.
Yes.
So, oops.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it cute? I love the Marvin character. He's so adorable. He's so absolutely pessimistic,
Marvin's like my favorite. Marvin's like my favorite. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second here. Just trying to see it so I can see my Facebook comments. Right. Facebook, come on, Facebook, give me my stuff, because I know I'm there. Give me a second. Here we go. So I can actually watch comments on Facebook if they come as well. No, like the thing is, like, I think my favorite Looney Tunes character in hindsight is Sylvester.
Oh, Sylvester.
Because here's the thing is, Sylvester could literally be anything. He can be the hero. He can be the villain. He can be the silly one. He can be the sad one. If you look at his design, he looks very much like a circus clown. He's an if a circus clown was a cat, it's Sylvester, right? That's who he is. So that's who. So when you look at him that way, he's actually really interesting because my favorite when Sylvester's the hero, he's a scared kitty, and him and Porky Pig. I grew up with Bugs Bunny cartoons. I'm sorry, I know them all like off the top of my head. So they go into this. They get to this house, and there's like this evil cult of mice that have taken over this whole house, and they've tried to kill they try to kill Porky throughout the episode, and only Sylvester knows it. Finally, Sylvester, terrified beyond belief, runs because he sees Porky finally gets caught and tied up, and there's just a sign. You were right, Sylvester. You were right. So he runs away. Then his conscience kicks him in the butt, and this is Sylvester is absolutely most heroic. He goes in, he charges, he clears every mouse out of that house. He's just a one-man wrecking crew. It's Sylvester at his most heroic. And this is also the same guy that gets his butt kicked by a baby kangaroo all the time. Mouse, mouse, He goes, I'm stick train. That's not a mouse. What the heck am I getting involved in here? That could be the Duck Dodgers attempt number 2. That beak is a little tricky at the very end there.
The other one that you just did, it looked a little bit like the Wiley the Coyote a little bit because it got a little
Yeah,
too long. It
yeah.
got away from you a little bit.
I'd have to change it slightly, but I could definitely pull off. I think Coyote might be a little easier to pull off, actually.
You think so?
Right? Might be, but that's okay. I'm going to try Daffy because it's Daffy Duck, and I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be trying to get the most out of the. Do. So yes, and so we now know that I probably watched way too many cartoons as a kid. How about you?
Well, we always watched both the Looney Tunes and also Tom and Jerry.
Ah.
And I remember, actually, I also remember that's the weirdest thing in the elementary school. Sometimes, like for Christmas or whenever, like summer break would be out, they used to have those projectors, even with reels still. That tells you how old I am. They had reels with like old cartoons from the Looney Tunes that they would show us for like a treat or something. Oh my God, with reels.
Oh yeah.
That's hilarious. God damn. That's
and now that you're older, if you ever watch those old Looney Tunes, the old Looney Tunes, you're like, I get more of these jokes now. I'm a terrible human being.
That's the funny part when you're starting to kind of flip your sentences. Like at first you would always be like, oh, the poor Roadrunner, and then nowadays you're just kind of rooting for Wiley the Coyote. Just get that damn asshole off the bird. Just get him already.
Oh, the Roadrunner's a dick. Like honestly, the Roadrunner is an asshole.
I overhyped turkey.
Like, and everybody knows it too. Like even the Roadrunner knows he's a dick. Like that's the best part about the Roadrunner. It's like he knows who he is, right? He knows who he is. My favorite episode though is when he caught him.
Does he ever get caught? I don't even
know. No, he does. He does.
Yeah.
He gets caught. So he goes in this like pipe, right? They go in this like pipe and they both shrink. Okay? They both shrink in this pipe. And they both come back out of it and big. And then it goes back into it again. The Roadrunner becomes big. Coyote does not.
Ooh.
And you look at that, it's like it's a bit of a cheat, but he caught him. He actually caught him
for a tiny little amount of time.
Yeah. Then he goes to the audience, guys. You've wanted me to catch him for years. Now what do I do with him? I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. I can't.
Doesn't he let him go? I kind of think. I'm trying to think if I've seen this before. I kind of think he lets him go because he has nothing else better to do after that. Isn't that right?
Well, it's like, okay, it's like me. I've been trying to make my career as a writer / artist, podcaster, and however it's evolved to over the years to such a degree that I really don't know what else it looks like anymore. It's not a bad thing entirely, but when I achieve my dreams, it's going to be like, oh shit, now what do I do? Now, what's next for me? Right?
I don't think I've ever had that problem. I just kind of like go with the flow and see what comes up. Because other people kind of like start their career and they go to college and do that kind of stuff. I never did that. I moved to America when I was, like 23 or something. And I didn't have the money to go to college or nothing, so I just kind of like learned by apprenticeship to do screen print tech, like graphic design, computer graphics, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of like went by interest by going to the library and seeing what would interest me. right? So like art and different other kind of stuff. And I used to take out books on anatomy and fashion and architecture and all that kind of stuff, and just completely self-taught on all those different kind of things. So there is ways of teaching yourself to do a whole bunch of things. Like all the resources that you have, even if you don't have the internet, are amazing. You know,
Yeah.
there's there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can learn if you're just
No,
interested.
I remember when I was a kid. When I was a kid, right? I would want to do this. Like I've learned as I've gotten older. This is what I've learned, right? There are many ways. There are many ways to learn. The
That's true.
fact of the matter is, you can choose. There's nothing wrong with going to college and learning your trade, but
Absolutely.
for the most part, we all like the ability to learn what we're going for is always there, right? The trick is recognizing when we're doing that, when that opportunity is actually there. You know what I mean? And that's I think for all of us. I think for all of us, it's different. Some people need the education to give us permission to succeed because that's what's required. And there are definitely jobs where I wouldn't want somebody that was just learning on the go to do it. Fair
Yeah, of course
enough.
it depends. You don't want to have a surgeon kind of like, oh, I just
You,
never did this
yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
Who knew?
You kind you kind of want someone that has some degree of training in that kind of field. But
You would think so.
the thing is, we really look at most jobs, most of them. Okay, I'm not saying that an education doesn't help someone want to become, let's say, a reporter. But if you sit there and listen to think about what a reporter is actually doing, they are researching information, they are writing a story, they're interviewing people, and they're coming to a conclusion. Right? That's what they're doing. Right? It's not rocket science what they're doing. Right? So then, if that's the case, right, then if you can research, come up with your own story ideas, and can back them up, you're a reporter, really, right? There's not a, no one can really say you, how dare you not do this thing you're doing. It's like, no,
Well,
no, it's legit, right? Now,
I guess there's a little bit more involved to this, though. If you, especially if you're looking at reporters in particular, I think what you would learn about this is the ethics about it. What can you do? What should you do? What shouldn't you do? Those kind of things. You know, have a standard of ethics or something.
maybe
Especially when it
some,
comes to reporting the truth, I would think that there is some benefit in having some kind of a standard on that. But
oh,
I see
oh,
what
oh,
you
oh,
mean, though.
oh, I agree. I agree with you. There's definitely a benefit to a standard with it. I'm not going to deny that, nor am I going to say that you shouldn't necessarily go to school and learn stuff. But if you're talking strictly on a skill set, just skill set, not nothing else, right?
Well, if
Well,
you're looking at that, then Borat, for example, is a kind of a reporting medium. Even though what's that actor's name? I can't really remember. Stefan, the guy who plays Borat.
yeah,
Like technically speaking, he's not a reporter, but what he does with the sarcasm and cynicism is actually find out a lot of different things that you wouldn't see otherwise, right? So I see what you're saying. Like there is a degree of finding out stuff that you can do without the official permission of a degree of some sort.
mhm. And
And
you,
it kind of gets a little bit out of hand too. There's some things like I think nowadays you probably need a degree to be a janitor. Come to think of it, like because there's it's gotten so out of hand. Like you have to have like certificate and degree for almost any kind of thing that comes out, which is kind of a bummer.
well, there's two sides to that coin, right? Like I said, one, People want to write a standard, but what has happened now is, see, companies don't want to train people anymore, is what this ultimately comes down to, right?
Yeah, that's
And
probably true.
because it takes time to train people, right? And it costs money to train people. And theoretically speaking, I mean, if you go to school, if we're going to school and doing stuff, right? If we're going to school and doing stuff, uh, we are, right? We are in theory being trained for a job, whatever that training is. But it costs so much today to go to school that essentially this is the problem, because there is no standard in terms of, there's a standard, there's a diploma, but because there is no, essentially you're paying for your own training to get a job that you may not get. I think the problem with it is when you're spending 5 or even 6 figures to be trained, right? To be trained, and you end up driving a taxi.
Yeah, I know. That's tough luck right there.
Yeah. It happens more often than we'd like to admit, right?
Yeah,
And I'm not talking like these programs without point. I should also mention here too. I'm also not referring to trades either. Trades, you tend to, once you get your trades, by and large, you have work if you want it. Now, you don't always get what you're worth when you're doing trades either, but that's another story, right? But when you go get your education, a lot of people, if you look at where a lot of people end up with it, right? There's a lot of people, no matter what the diploma is, they don't end up using it the way that their training would indicate they would use it, right? So there's a bit of a crapshoot when you look at it like that. Now, it doesn't mean, and again, I'll state this here. I'm not saying don't go get your education, but if you're going to go education, go through a hoop for a job, it's even then it's a crapshoot, because
you can end up with a ton of student loans and everything just to sit there
yeah,
and be in debt forever. Student loan is actually some of the debt that you can't have wiped out by bankruptcy.
yeah.
You
Well,
can
that's
only
it.
settle it up.
That's the problem with it, right? It's not like there's no relief. You're getting penalized for wanting to better your life. And I'm not saying you shouldn't pay for education, but at the same token, right? You for someone that comes from nothing, the choice is, I can go get a job, doesn't pay as much, but I'm debt free, or I can go ridiculously into debt, never pay it off, or take a very long time to pay it off. And
Well, it comes down to what you said. It's basically what you want to do. If
yeah,
if your childhood dream was to be a surgeon, then probably you're going to be okay with being in debt for a little bit longer if you get to do what you want to do.
yeah,
But if that's only your parents' dream and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs and like, I hate looking at blood, then you're kind of screwed if you still have to pay all the student debt on top of it. All right, I added some characters. Here we go. Oops. There we go.
wow,
Uh,
that's
there we have
amazing.
there we have Q as Elmer Fudd.
I love Elmer Fudd.
and
Elmer
then
Fudd's
there's
amazing.
and then there's Porky the Pig as a Ferengi. I hope you can see that. It's kind of like a little bit awkward, but I think you can see that it is a Ferengi.
Porky Pig as a Ferengi.
Yeah.
But then again, he did pull off Friar Tuck. So I mean, if he can pull off Friar Tuck, he can pull off a Ferengi. He can totally pull it off. That's really good. Like, you're really, really good.
And this is kind of fun because this was ultimately meant for a friend of mine who really loves a whole bunch of different sci-fi and childhood characters. So I'm also going to add a couple of other ones in there and then see how those go. So yeah, she was always a super fan of Star Trek and all those kind of things. And actually, I only ever watched Star Trek because she did. That was still in elementary school too. She used to watch all these the repeats of the old Star Trek ones with Captain Kirk and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, we always had to cut our Friday evening get-togethers short because like, oh, it's 6. I forgot to watch Star Trek. So I had to go home.
Oh,
I
that's
had to go home.
awesome.
But that's kind of cool because I had to call when I got home. Those were the days when they were still letting you go home alone when you were like maybe 8, 9, 10. Like even in the wintertime, sometimes I used to just walk home alone for like 10 blocks or whatever it would take. But I had to call when I got there just to make sure that nobody kidnapped me on the way, just to make sure, you know.
But here, got something cool. So this is by
Oh,
my
let's see.
phone. This is take. This is take two of Duck Dodgers. Take two. A little more detail.
Yeah, yeah. I see that the feet got out a little bit better too.
Pardon?
The feet got a little bit better too. So you're
Yeah.
fine tuning it a little bit. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm just taking it off a picture I'm seeing online and kind of just trying to figure out if I can get the shapes right because that beak is tricky. That beak is tricksy.
Yeah.
That's the thing about him. Like his beak is a little bit trickier than it looks. But his eyes, you can so tell are daffy. Like the eyes are so daffy duck.
You
Duck
know,
Dodgers.
that's the thing about the Looney Tunes, though. They're deceptively simple.
Yes.
Deceptively, because all the lines have to be just right in order to actually make it perfect. You know, like a lot of those things, simple is so much more difficult than complicated, complex, and everything. Like
Well,
that's
simplicity
really
from simplicity from what I've noticed, from what I've learned in this life, that's when you know you're a genius. When you can make it simple,
yeah.
right? Because ultimately, simplicity is probably really the deepest level of complexity. It's when you truly can understand what you're doing. When you can see, like, again, you don't have to get it all perfect. You don't need to get it perfect. But what you need to understand, what you need to get is okay.
You need to pare it down to exactly the basics and only what you need. And that
Yeah,
is really, really tricky. Only what you need. So what do you need? Do you need like this little twirl right here, or do you not need it? Like simplicity is hard.
yeah,
The Zen masters knew what they were doing. I tell you that.
like, and that's the thing, right? So, like Daffy, I noticed he's always like his grin isn't exactly sinister. Wouldn't say that's quite the right way to describe his grin, but there is definitely like
A sarcastic little note to it, really.
yeah, there is a sarcasm to it for sure, and and like that line between it being like sarcasm and like because his beak is almost like a smile the whole way through. It's almost like a full fledged smile, and then at like the tip, it evolves into something. It's not quite. It's not quite that. So it's like okay, well, how can I make that look just realistic enough? And then I realized that maybe I'm overthinking it just a little bit. That's also a possibility,
You
right?
know, sometimes I tend to do that too. I just kind of overdo it a little bit, like trying to get it perfect. No, it's fine if you do it a little bit different, as long as you just do it your way.
But sometimes it's not, like, again, it's about knowing what he is and what he isn't, right? And Daffy Duck, the secret I think that Mr. Daffy is, it all comes back to his eyes. Like, his eyes are what make him and what break him. Again, they're so simple, but yet you don't get it right, it's not Daffy. Right? It's something else. And I think that's the true secret to Mr. Daffy Duck is he's very much about that simplicity. So, was Looney Tunes what you grew up with only, and you said Tom and Jerry? Which one was your favorite?
Well, I think it's always almost like a ritual. You watch something at a specific time.
Yes.
And usually it was like both Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry at a very specific time. Then you had to be home at that specific time to make it happen. Actually, it's weird to think that like you can watch anything anytime you want.
Yes.
It's almost too much responsibility. Like you can watch anything that you want at any time. You can binge anything you want at any time. Like, holy shit, I can't handle this much choice.
I'm amateur. Listen, I barely watch any TV now. I don't have time.
We're adding stuff.
It's just too much like work.
Here we go. We're adding.
You gotta keep up with the show. It's like, no, I don't. I'm not cool. I just made that decision. I'm not cool. That's the way it's gonna be. I'm not cool. I'm not gonna try to be cool. I'm not gonna try to work very, very hard. If it really grabs me, I'll try very, very hard to like. Man, so close. Yeah, I'll show you what I did for this particular round. I'm so close on his beak. It drives me nuts because,
so close yet so far.
Yes. My pain. It's like you've been there.
That's usually what you get though. Like when you're drawing stuff, and you kind of like a lot of people say like, "Oh, you're talented," but it's not talent. It's mostly practice. It's all ton of practice, practice, and most of it is like, "Shit, I got it wrong again."
Well, yeah, it's hours of work. It doesn't mean like I'm actually going to be illustrating my next book. That scares me.
Yeah,
that scares me. That scares me.
You were putting that out there, like at what point do you think you're going to be like, oh, this is exactly what I want? Are you still kind of fine tuning what you're looking for, or like getting a little bit better on your style and what exactly your style is? Because sometimes I think that's exactly where I am right now. I had started to write a comic book myself, and I already had it scripted, but then I figured, well, you know what? I'm not quite there yet when it comes to the art to make it my style and everything else. So I'm still kind of developing with that a little bit. And I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of like fine tuning that a little bit longer than I thought I would have to. But
no, there's nothing wrong with that at all. So for me, it's more like this. So I came up with a novel called Lights Out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever read. Did you ever read a book called Fahrenheit 451?
No, I didn't get around to it. But I know the Ray Bradbury.
Yeah.
Concept of it, yeah.
So I'm a big Ray Bradbury fan,
mm-hmm.
but I'm also a big comic book fan. I am literally probably one of the biggest comic book fans ever. I just love the medium. It can do so many amazing things. I love it. But the thing about it is, what I've learned about what I do and what I don't do well is I'm not doing a full sequential. What I'm doing is, so the first part of the story is going to be um, like a Twitch stream, like not much different than what we're doing right now. Because it's going to be an actual video game in the background, and I'm going to do, and that's why I'm doing 8-bit Zelda, right? Legend of Zelda, an 8-bit version of Legend of Zelda, because 8-bit is simple, right? You can kind of like put like blips on the screen, and I can screw this up, and it doesn't really matter. The point is the story I'm telling, right, will be affected there, and I can do all my dialogue on the side and create different storytelling experience doing that. And I'm doing it that way for a number of reasons. One of them is very simply, because to me at least, right, I recognize the fact that because if I do just straight dialogue, you don't hear thoughts, which is one of the things I'm trying to get across in the first part of the story. Is there's so much distraction, you don't have time to think for yourself, which isn't that right? It's a good way of telling that story. It's something I'm not saying, but I'm saying at the same time. And then when the lights go out, the story is for 30 days, he gets completely cut off from his technology outside of some very basic things. He has no privileges, and for 30 days he has to do community service. For 21 out of those 30 days, and then the last like 7 days or so, you get reacclimated back into the system. But for those days where he's not in this, he's unplugged for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. All he has are his thoughts, all the things he ignored thinking about are there. So part 1 is almost like a sequential story. Part 2 is a novel, and part 3 is kind of like a little weird mixture of both, right? But it's not. Again, the drawings aren't complicated. They're going to be within my limitations because they don't have to look the prettiest. They just have to tell the story right. Right?
If you can do that very simply, then that definitely works. If you can do it very simply with very simple graphical means, then that definitely tells a good story. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Like I'm working within my limitations. I'm not trying to exceed them, right? Well, I am a little bit. I'm challenging myself to tell a sequential story, but only for pieces of this story, and then adding a little graphics here and there, like skulls and trees and some binary code. So it's nothing overly complicated, but you don't need overly complicated to tell an expressive story. Right? And maybe I get to the point where I do a comic book down the road, right? But for this story, for the purposes of what I'm doing here, right, I don't need a complicated image or background or something to that effect to make it like work. I don't need that. What I need actually is something a little bit more like simple. I'm going for very, very simple. I'm not trying to be like super complicated or super pretty, or I'm not worried about that. In fact, if I do that, I think I fail. It's not really about that for the story. This story is about a very simple concept of on and off, a light switch, a means to tell the story, right? The absolute best way I can. That's also why I'm not doing the drink and draw this month too, because I'm going to be drawing this story or trying to draw this story. And I'd be lying to you if I wasn't a little terrified doing it. But at the same token, I've written the dialogue. I know the dialogue for part 1. I have to write. Part 3 is going to be tricky because I don't know how much drawing I'm going to be doing in part 3, because it's still going to be primarily a prose story, but there are going to be little bits and pieces of part one's interaction and dialogue. But the difference is, when he started, that was his whole world. Part two, you got exposed to a brand different world. And now in part three, it's now a mixture of that world and why you choose the way you choose. And the thing, and it's a homage to Bradbury, because Ray Bradbury, I think, wrote about the human spirit probably better than just about any author I know, right? So he wrote about like joy and wonder and terror in such a profound way. He's really, and today he's the only author I've ever read was actually able to scare me in the best possible way. He made me feel, he woke me up to some possibilities in the world I never would have considered on my own. And I can't think of a better homage to him than a story like this. It talks about the heart of the human spirit, right? Especially in a time like this where essentially we're all connected by a light bulb. If you really sit there and think about it.
Light bulbs and mirrors, right?
Yeah, that's it. We live in such a fragile time. What is the human spirit in a world of light? And what is that like when the lights go out? I thought that would be a great story to tell. And then I said,
that reminds me. It reminds me of a story that I've seen a movie with Julianne Moore. Um, it's about a society that all of a sudden a disease strikes that renders everybody blind.
Yeah.
You know, at first it's just a couple of different people, but then all of a sudden there's more and more people going blind, and they're being quarantined somewhere to make sure that they're safe in the way and they don't affect anybody else. And Moore's character is actually the only character who seems to be immune. So she's the only person who sees, but she's trying to hide that to make sure that she's not singled out, either by the guards or by her fellow human beings, because now, like, her husband notices that she can actually see, and he can't. So that makes her different. Like, there's so many different power struggles involved with losing your senses and having a different view at life. It's really, really interesting, and I can see how that can be a really, really cool story point of where you're going and what you see and how you see it.
well, see, I had this thought because we went into a second quarantine here in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that we are in a dark time. We really are, and it's not just the virus. It's the nature of the system we live in. It's not the best system by any stretch of the imagination. And if there's one thing I've learned in this time, it's that our system needs a lot of work, top to bottom. But for the moment, at least, we're trusting it. Good, bad, or indifferent, well, time will tell. But I realized that in this time and in this place, amazing things have come out of this. For example, I got the opportunity to meet people like yourself, which I may not have gotten the opportunity to do. This is probably the closest I got to it. What do you think?
Oh, the beak has gotten so much better. Yeah, I think you're honing in on it. Yeah, definitely. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm only my third attempt. Only my third duck dodges.
Now let's see if we can spot some of the characters over here. I added something in the back.
Nice.
It's called Leghorn as the predator. You can see that.
Okay.
And then on the other side, there is, probably not so timely, I drew this before Dr. Seuss was starting to withdraw the publishing of their new book. So there's the TARDIS and Dr. Seuss, the Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, love Dr. Seuss.
And I don't know if you can see this right down here, but we've got,
Ooh, looks like you have another cat down there, the Alice in Wonderland.
yes, yes. And then over here, that's a little bit something from Alien. And that's probably not so easy to tell. That's the Tribbles from Star Trek.
Couldn't quite see it, but that's still like that's an incredible detail. Like, so I'm gonna ask you a fun question here because we were talking about like you wanting to improve your style and stuff for a comic.
Yep.
Far and away, like based on what I just seen there, you're incredible. So, if you don't mind my asking,
Go for it.
what do you think you need? Because you do it. You are. You're very talented. Like no, like beyond like you're better than me. I mean, I grant you, I'm not even like we're not quite in this. I don't think in the same zip code. But that's not. I don't just mean that literally. I just mean that in this case, I'm just getting started, and you're more talented in this field than I am, and I say that sincerely with right. I think you could tell great stories. I think you could tell great stories with what you already know.
Actually,
So my question is, what do you feel you're missing?
well, the one thing that I'm just honing in on is my process to where I actually want it to be. And I have to say that one of the people that I met through Mog and her draw and bid was Tori, and she started giving me a bunch of different commissions for Chrono Trigger. And
Awesome.
yeah, and I'm actually now on the sixth one, the End of Time, which is the last one, and I have to give her a huge shout out because of that series and the draw and bid and everything. It's just in the last couple of months I honed in on what my style is, and I think the process of how I'm doing it is kind of unconventional because I don't know if you can tell, but I'm doing my line work with a big pen.
Yeah.
Cheap as fuck, right? Sorry, but that really works for me. And then usually traditionally, what you do is you do the pencils, and then you do the inking, and then you do the coloring. But that doesn't work for me. I go the other way around. I start with the pencils, then I do like a little bit of line work with the big pen. Then I put the color washes down, and then I end up with a little bit of inking in the end to just kind of like darken stuff in. And I only just fine-tuned this process and how I want to make art consistency in the last couple of months, which is really, really cool. Like, like having something like where you can consistently produce something that is the same in your style, and you're confident in having that you're making stuff the way that it is. Because even with comics, I don't think that there's anything wrong with having independent things that don't look like Marvel or don't look like anime in per se. There's so much fun in having different stuff that's independently made and has its own style, but it needs to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It needs to have, if it has a style, it needs to have that throughout. And I think I had kind of like a little bit of a freestyler's disease. Like if you're doing design work for other people, you lose yourself in the fact that you're always doing custom stuff for other people. If you can't do anything, then the problem is like, what is you out of all the different things that you can do? What is you out of all those different things? If you're a chameleon, you kind of like lose your own spots.
Yeah.
You lose your identity in a way. You know what I mean?
Like, I get what you mean. Can I offer a fun little rebuttal though?
Go.
Yeah. Sometimes those limitations actually can enhance your own creativity, right? Sometimes, because here's the thing, okay? This is true in like when I write a book. My story is my story, but if you really sit there and think, if I sit there and look around, I will find that my story, like the elements in my story, have been used elsewhere. But even so, right? I feel like, right? I still bring something unique to the table because this is how I see it and how I tell the story. You're the same. It doesn't matter if it's Bugs Bunny or Chrono or Jon Stewart or Batman, or it doesn't matter, right? It just doesn't matter. The part that makes it unique is how you find it, how you draw it, how you express them, right? Because that is how you tell your stories. That's what you will it doesn't matter what you're drawing specifically. It's how you draw it, right? That's the thing, right? So I acknowledge this. I'm a little crazy because see, I just say, fuck it, let's see what happens, right? And that's who I am, right? Whether it's kissing a girl or whether it's drawing a picture, whether it's writing a story, fuck it, let's see what happens. That's who I am. That is totally who I am, right? But at the same token, like the advantage I have in that is, yeah, I fail an awful lot. Sometimes the girl slaps me, right? Sometimes
that has never happened to me.
Yeah. Well, I usually ask nicely. If I'm going to kiss a girl, I usually ask them. It's just one of the, I never make the mistake of making a girl feel like I don't respect them. That's an important thing because it definitely it goes a long way. Surprisingly, a very long way. But the thing about that is, right, I don't worry about, I can't control. We're doing a podcast right now. For the first hour, as of right now, no one watched it. Couldn't control that. We put it out there. People watched. Now we have someone watching it, which is cool, right? But the thing about that is, right, all I can do is put my stuff out there when I put my stuff out there. And who knows? Like, I remember, so I had this one conversation that I put it out on Twitch, and I looked at the net, like, no one watched it. I was like, what the hell is going on here? I put it in my audio. Like, I give it an audio file. In 2 days, it was the most downloaded episode I've ever had on my audio. Like, that quickly, that fast. It was like, so, right? I have no control over the result, right? And I accept that. But what I've learned in this life, this is what I've learned in this life. Everything I try leads somewhere. Now, sometimes it isn't always good, but more often than not, it works out because what tends to happen is, oh my God, he did that. Oh my God, he did this. Oh my God, he did that. He's fucking crazy. Oh my God, though, he did that, right? I am okay. So I mean, seriously, think about like I should be more intimidated than I am. I've gotten to draw with you. I drew with Elsa Garza. She works at Warner Brothers for freaking sakes, because she's so good at what she does.
Yeah.
I got to draw with her. I got to draw with Maud Park. Maud's done Game of Thrones. Like, really, I'm not like, seriously, right? I got to draw with you. I got to draw with Anbu. I drew with a girl in Washington last week named Shawnee. She's super talented, right? I get to meet all these incredibly smart, brilliant, wonderful people. All because I went to them and go, would you like to come on my show? Yeah, sure, why not? Right? And it leads somewhere. And every time I do it, someone else comes up and go, hey, I'd like to be on your show. And it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. I'm almost an affiliate on Twitch. I've been doing this for 4 months. And all I've done is just do shit. Right? Some days it does, some days it goes great, some days it doesn't, but that's all I'm doing. And this is what I'm saying, and this is all around by way of me saying this to you. Okay? You are a better artist than I am. Better storytelling in that medium than I am. I think you're ready to find out, even if it's just a little 8-page story. I think you're ready just to find out, what kind of storyteller are you? Let yourself tell that story, even if it's the most terrible thing in the world. Who cares? Who cares, right? You will learn so much about your process. And here's what you'll have, and this is what you'll get out of it. Regardless of where it goes, you'll have told a story.
That's true.
Right? That's it. And you know what? And I'm gonna let you know a little secret. What I have noticed about this creative industry, what separates good people from great people, is that ability to finish.
Yes.
That's it.
That's
it.
Thing.
That's a simple
thing right there.
little thing. So here's the thing. Next week, I'm telling my first sequential story. It's probably not going to be the best thing. And I'm almost going to bet money you can do it better than me.
The difference is, though, that you're making it. Yeah.
But, yeah, I'll have told my story.
That's true.
Right? So this is just me offering a little rebuttal and a little encouragement at the same time, because you're very, very good at what you do. Your characters are amazing. Like, that's an incredible, like, seriously, I can't do that. I can't. I'm not there yet. But maybe someday I'll be able to do that. But right now I can't. And there's a lot of people that couldn't do what you just did. You're awesome. And you should go for it. You should try. Even if it's a small thing. Try. Okay?
Well, I'm still working on it. My problem sometimes is that I'm a very paradoxical person. I'm a go for it kind of person. After all, I moved to Hawaii without having a job, without having a place to stay, and without much money. And I made it. Ta-da! But on the other side, I'm also a planner. You know, like I have my story and I have it planned out. I've got it researched and everything. I'm doing the script and I'm planning it. It has to be kind of like thought out before I actually go there. But I'm also working on it consistently. It's slow, maybe it's slow, but I'm working on it.
As long as you're working on it, that's
Yes.
it. Like my worry. This is just my worry.
Yeah.
That I learned this. Like, so I have an ex-girlfriend, and we're still really good friends. And she, yeah. Oh, she was. It has been a hoot to watch who she's become over the last few years. She's an amazing woman. She really, really is. And you know, she took. When I went to go back, I told her, like, I gotta go get a job again. She just don't stop this. What you're doing here, because this will inevitably pick up for you. Like, it's gonna happen. But don't stop on the momentum. Just don't, keep doing what you love to do, and it'll work out. And I had to promise her, yeah, I'm absolutely gonna do what I love to do, or it's gonna work out. I don't want her to beat me. She may be smaller than me, but she's mighty, and I don't want to be beaten down by her. Number one. Number two. Like, that's it. Like, as long as you're going forward, it doesn't matter. Like, the pace doesn't matter, but as long as you're going forward, and as long as you are making an effort, a conscious effort, then it's good. Then it's really, really, really good. And that's all I'm worried about. That's what it speaks to me. Like, in terms of talent, like, you're gonna rock, and you're gonna kick all kinds of ass, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. It'll be a wonderful thing.
I'm trying to see if I can show you a pencil sketch of one of the things that I've done. I'm trying to see if I can share it just a second.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get it. It's incredibly slow.
It's okay.
That's all right. That's all right, Robert.
That's okay. No, that's it. Like, yeah, and this is what I do. I look at it like this. I think it's that I'm just, for me, I'm just flattered you wanted to be here. But No, I mean, I can't wait to see what you come up with because there's so many good storytellers out there. But that's like the challenge, and this has always been the challenge in life: is are you willing to go out there and put yourself out there and tell the stories you want to tell, or prove that you can finish something you started? Because if you can do that, it doesn't really matter, right? If you can do that, right, you're gonna succeed. Because I already put you way ahead of the pack, right? And as long as you just keep going, you'll be like you can plot and plan your way. You can just go like me, just go for it and see what happens. But however you choose to do it, um, just keep going, and you improve it and have it proof. Like this is going to be my sixth book, second novel, kind of right, sixth book. So I've done it 5 times. Never gets easier, right? It's always a lesson every time. But I'm proving I can do it. So, and that's important. So that when an editor goes to me, well, I have this deadline here at this date. Can you do it? Yes. I might need drugs, but yes. But that's a. Right. That's the like you never take yourself too seriously. I find that that's a that's a death trap. But what I have learned is you that's it. Like ultimately, like the lesson I've learned in life is this: if you can finish what you start, you're going to probably finish a lot more things, and you're going to keep moving forward. And that's all we can do.
Yeah, that's not the finishing part. That's the travel. Anybody can see anything. Anybody can start anything.
That's right.
That's a very true statement. All right.
But that all set.
Now I was going to share something with you, but sometimes I'm having a little issue. Actually, going to have to get a new computer with this one too because this is just way too slow. It's just like,
it's okay.
Glacial. Glacial.
It's okay.
All right. So I think I'm done with this thing right here. Still gonna have a little bit more on the inking and everything, but this is going to be it for now.
That's awesome. Miss Conny, you rock. So I'm gonna ask a really, really fun question. Because I think it's a hilarious choice. But why Elmer Fudd is cute? I think that is a hilarious choice. But
I just have to imagine Q and then just go. That's hilarious. You just have to imagine Q like, oh, mon capitaine. I always am attracted. Yeah, you have to become like if you're choosing a map, the best mashups are usually the ones that kind of contradict each other just a little bit. Just like Porky the Pig is a Ferengi. Like Porky the Pig is just such a friendly character. You're just kind of like, and you draw him as the most greedy being in the universe.
Yes.
You kind of have to mash it up a little bit so it doesn't quite make sense. And just either it makes perfect sense or it makes no sense. Those are the best mashups, really.
Well, I see. I love that choice for one very simple reason because Q the Omnipotent. Elmer Fudd is not exactly what I imagine when I think of omnipotence. When I think of omnipotent, it's like you're omnipotent. You can't tell the difference between rabbit and duck season. But now I suddenly understand why the universe is the way it is. Right? I'm not going to go into deeper detail behind that because I'm scared. I understand. Right? It's just one of those. It's one of those situations where you look at that and go, yeah, okay. Now in Star Trek universe makes a lot more sense. Elmer Fudd is cute, right? See, I think I'd make Yosemite Sam a Romulan, right? Or Yosemite Sam a Romulan would be amazing.
Oh.
Right, because
as a Klingon, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, or a Klingon, one of the like just okay. First off, you use a Klingon. Like think of all you have this giant mustache that's pretty much his face. You'd have like these like ridges, which would be hilarious.
That would
Right,
be awesome.
right. That'd be hilarious. But him as a Romulan would be fun too, because you never see a Romulan with a mustache like that, or even him as Mr. Spock. That would be hilarious. Right, that would be funny, right? You know,
No. The skunk. The
oh, Pepe Le
skunk
Pew.
as Mr. Spock.
That'd be great. Oh my god, that would be amazing.
No emotions whatsoever. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, unless the cat's there, then it's like, oh my god, just loses his shit. Right.
That would be dangerous. Can you imagine that kind of grip, like the Spock grip, kind of like date rape grip or something like that? Like, oh, that would be.
Oh god, yeah.
Harsh.
I mean,
that would be harsh right there. Oh my god, better not. Yeah, but yeah, I've got Foghorn Leghorn as the predator, and I'm just kind of thinking like, oh, chicken hawk.
the Roadrunner would be Captain Kirk.
The Roadrunner.
The Roadrunner would be Captain Kirk. So it would be
You could think Captain Kirk is an asshole too. Is that why?
Okay, actually no. For two reasons. One, the way Kirk spoke. Scotty, you must do this. Just the idea of the Roadrunner like negating all that by just doing like sticking his tongue out and going, yeah, like that'd be funny. Number one, that'd be just amazing. And they would have to interpret the captain. That would be Tweety would be Scotty. I thought I taught dilithium overload. I did.
With a Scottish accent. I can see that.
Yeah, Tweety would be Scotty. Sylvester would be Sulu, right? You can make Sylvester Sulu. That could be fun.
Okay. All right.
Right. Yeah, right. You could totally do that. Uhura. Okay, Uhura would probably have to be cat. That the Pepe Le Pew likes. That would have to be the way that would go. Right.
And Captain Kirk tried to kiss her, and she's like,
yeah, exactly. Or a Tweety's owner. You can make Tweety's owner Uhura. Okay. The old lady, the really old lady. That'd be awesome.
Get the umbrella out.
Yeah, exactly. No, she'd keep the whole crew in line.
I'm still trying to think who Bones would be. Who would be Bones?
You can make it Bugs. You could try making Bugs Bunny if you really wanted to. Yeah, it doesn't quite fit.
Bones is a little bit too serious, to be honest. Like, so he's a little bit more on the serious side.
You can make him the Chicken Hawk.
Oh. Yeah, that could happen. That could happen, actually. I can see that.
Yeah, you can make him the Chicken Hawk. That would work. I think that would actually work. Let me think. Yeah, Chicken Hawk would work. Maybe. Or actually make him Marvin. Make him Marvin the Martian. That would work.
That would make more sense. A little bit more on the serious side, like, we've got a thing to do right here. We've got a mission. Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Yep, I can see that happening.
Yeah, Marvin the Martian, my other all-time favorite character. He was, again, like I said, we talked about him a little earlier, but like he'd be a good Dr. McCoy, right? And it'd be like, yeah, pull it off. Daffy, oh my god, yeah, Daffy was amazing. Just yeah, it was fun. I got to draw Daffy Duck tonight, which is great. So, are you just doing commissions right now, or are you got any really cool projects coming up?
Right now, I'm just doing commissions a little bit. I still might have something coming up with like interior work, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to work or not. Like interior comic work for somebody else that hasn't quite pulled through yet, but if it does, that would be really, really awesome. Getting to tell a story from start to finish, the interior work and everything. And that's another reason why I'm still kind of like going slowly with my own story, because it would be awesome to actually be able to help somebody else tell their story too.
Yeah.
Like there's one thing to tell your own story, but if you can collaborate with somebody else and trying to make that happen, like that's one of the things that I've always been very good at. Like I'm really good, like as a designer and other things, collaborating with other people and finding exactly what it is that they need or what they want. That's one of my ultimate strengths. I'm very good intuiting what other people kind of want or need to get. That's that's one thing that I'm good at. So
It's always fun collaborating. I've done some collaborations with some of my work in the past. Like I've been very fortunate with the people I've worked with. My editor, my editor is great. My cover artists both have been amazing. That I've had that actually all three of them I've had have been amazing. I always say high praise of all of them. So Florence Chan is probably the most professional person I've ever worked with. Super creative, smart woman, awesome. My buddy Lance, really, really, really fun guy, awesome, talented guy. And Kenzie is just an amazing talent in her own right as well. So I've been very fortunate on them. We'll be working with at some point down the road, hopefully this year, because that'll be fun. She'll probably make my story better. At least that's the hope. She's in. I told her what the plot was. She's like, I'm in. I'm just in. I'm like, okay, cool.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So I even though I'm drawing now, I'm still going to be collaborating. Some stories I write, I can't. I'm not ready to draw those. Maybe never will be ready to draw those. I'll let somebody else tackle those. But also, when you work with somebody, you learn you there are opportunities to be better, to learn how to tell stories. There, everybody brings something to the table that you don't
Sometimes
have.
sometimes stories or images get so much better when you get another input to it
Yeah,
because it kind of like plays off a little bit on different angles that you hadn't thought about before, or it comes out like the like how about this, or like a different kind of like mashups or whatever, where somebody else thinks of things that you hadn't thought of, and it just improves things so much. It's amazing what just a little bit of input from other people can do.
well, like Florence forced me to get better with my first trilogy. Like she made me better, no question about it. Kenzie was fun because it was her first time doing anything like that. So I felt, although I was teaching, she certainly brought her own imagination to the table for sure. But I was teaching her some stuff that I taught her a little bit about some stuff that way. Lance was cool. He has his own take on things that's really really fun. Um, every artist is a little different. You work with them a little differently because everybody works better in certain things. What I've learned is you figure out, is the artist better with your input or without your input? 'Cause I don't need to be the genius on everything. In fact, it's better if I'm not. But that all said, it's like some artists are better with the more direction you give them. Some are better with like, here's a general idea, here's some bullet points of where I kind of want to go, and have fun.
The
And
Stanley kind of method.
yeah, that's it. Everybody's different, right? So
It's true.
it's one of those things where um, the only thing I try to do, the only thing I try to do is I try to keep what's best for the story there. The rest doesn't really need. Again, I'm going to be smart enough to get out of my people's way if they're better than me. I don't like, my ego can take it. It's better without you here. Yes, yes, it is.
Making my exit.
Yeah, exactly. What's you know what, like, because it's the truth, right? Like, are you really, you have a cool vision and you meet people that are as talented or more talented than you, that are helping you out. Well, I'd be an idiot to turn that down. Okay, I mean, I'd be an idiot. It's like, no, you have no ideas yourself. It's like, no, 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 no. You have ideas. I'm just like honestly, I am smart enough to embrace the accidents, or to embrace the discoveries on the journey. This is better than what I came up with. Let's just roll. Yeah,
Yeah, I love happy accidents. Like
yeah,
I find it with drawing all the time, especially when you're doing watercolor or washes. There's so many times where you just come up with something where it just goes the wrong way, and it's like, oh, this is cool, like, and they just have like different techniques that just work with spontaneous things. And then all of a sudden you see stuff in there, like you would see like really cool, fun shapes in the clouds, and you're like, hey, hey, here we go. this, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, that's the best stuff, right? That's always the best stuff, right? Chocolate chip cookies was an accident. Somebody put chocolate chips in cookie dough by accident. They dumped it. So guess what? That worked out very well for everybody involved, and all of us since have benefited. So I look at it like this, like the like embrace those things that are wonderful, learn from the things that are not, and no matter what, you just keep going forward. You know?
That's the best way to live.
Yeah, you like that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think. Did you have fun?
Yeah, of course I did. Like,
Yeah.
I get to draw a little bit and just shoot the shit about different stuff, about
Yeah.
Elmer Fudd and Daffy Duck and everything. Awesome.
Yeah, you're very good. Like, you are incredibly talented. So, thank you very much for coming. Why don't you tell people how they can find you? Right? How they can find you if they want you for commission work. Like guys, like you should push that picture up one more time. She's really good. Like really good at what she does. And she can do chrono trigger kind of stuff. She can do other things too. She's really good. Anyway.
Well, right now people can find me either on Facebook or on Instagram. Like on Facebook, you can find me under Conny Jolitz. That's the same thing right there on the ID tag. The Conny Conny, Jolitz is Jolitz. And the Instagram is CJinks Art. That's CJINKS Art, ART. And that'll be me.
So, that's your Facebook. And your Instagram is CJ Art. Hold on, what was your Instagram again?
Hold up a second. Let's see if I can. Let's see. Oh, I can't. Let's see if I can add that to there. Let me type it in. Usually, when the sound is so bad, it's really hard to type to actually spell it out or anything.
Well, just tell me, I'll spell it out. I'm putting it on my own comment.
Okay, that's CJ.
Yep.
INKS ART. CJinks Art.
CJ Inks Art?
Yep.
Okay. There you go. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. These are where you can find Conny. And Conny, as you can see, draws an amazing Looney Tunes. She made Elmer Fudd Q, so I'm automatically a fan. Just based on that alone. But
show it one more time. There we go.
Yeah. That's skill, folks. I'm not there yet. But for all those that are watching and listening, this has been an incredible week of podcasts and streams and just meeting some amazing people. Aloha, Mog. Nice to see you. Glad you can come in and say a quick hello as we're wrapping up here. This was a really fun time. Conny is an amazing talent. I really enjoyed having this opportunity to draw with her. And that will do it for my streams for the week. I'm taking the weekend off because I need the weekend off. I'm actually also just finishing my novel. That's going to be my goal this weekend. So I'm going to probably go slowly a little crazy, but that's okay. That all said, guys, thank you very much for watching and or listening. So this is how it works. I am very close to being an affiliate on Twitch. Basically, at this point, all it's going to take is for the next week or so, if more than 3 people watch the stream when it's live on Twitch. If I get that, I will be an affiliate. Right, that's basically where I'm at. I have reached the follower plateau on Twitch, which is kind of cool. So I would really appreciate it. If you still want to follow me, please do. Twitch.tv/TwitchJoshingPodcast. Come on in, come down. If you want to watch my shows on YouTube, I'm on as Joshua Penteloresco. I am on every platform known to man, audio-wise for the podcast. Just look up Just Josh and go find it. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the darkness. Next week's going to be a fun week. Crystal Wallace starts off Monday, which is going to be fantastic. I got a great week of guests coming up. So keep going. Keep dreaming. Good things will happen. All right, guys. Have a great weekend and take care of yourself. And Connie, thank you.
Thank you for having me.